Hi, Marcel, the Wood Butcher. I know, it's been a while. Uh, Longer than I ever really wanted it to be until I posted anything. But I was going through a bunch of situations and issues, and I just had to spend my time on other priorities. But anyway, I'm back, and I plan on being back fairly regularly. Okay. Today's topic from the Wood Butcher is going to be, when do you decide to use an electric compound miter saw as opposed to a manual miter saw to make some cuts and accurate cuts? And I really want to make a couple of things known before we go into this. Okay. I ran into a project that, okay, when it comes to cutting, 1/4 inch by 4 inch or 3 inch stock, with 45-degree miters or whatever angle they are, well, yes, use the electric compound miter saw. However, hang on one second. Yes, we're shooting outside today. It's August 9th or 10th. It's a fantastic day here in Middletown, New Jersey, and I decided to do this outside. I hope the sunlighting and this and that doesn't affect so much, whatever. Okay. But let's continue. Let me grab 2 pieces of wood and show you exactly what I'm talking about. If I can hook myself in the chair. Okay. When we're cutting a miter on a piece of wood of this dimension, that's 3/4 inch by 4 inch, and we needed a 45-degree miter on each end, by all means, use the electric compound miter saw to make the cut more accurate. And to make the cut even more accurate, when you cut it, don't put the stock this way on the saw and cut down. Because if your saw is off a little bit, from square, which all of them are, right? It's gonna exaggerate the misalignment. If you do it this way or this way and cut it, it's only cutting through this way, and the blade misalignment that you can only adjust to so much is not going to show as much. Now, stock like this, absolutely, positively use the electric compound miter saw. But when it comes to, you have to excuse this, and I don't know if you're going to see the coloration on it or not, but this is left over from when I used molding and made candy canes out of it for Christmas. But when you're using thin stock like this, like the rope molding, and I don't know, maybe you can see the white paint that's left over on there and this and that, you can see it's not that thick, right? It's only about a 1/2 inch thick, if that. It's very soft pine, and the speed of the blade of the electric miter saw is going to rip the crap out of the corners of this. You can sand it, but then you're never going to get the corners right. This is the times where you might want to choose using a manual miter box or miter saw. Now, when I say a manual miter saw, I want you to understand 2 things right off the bat that are no-nos, because they're only accurate for the first or 2 cuts, and after that, they're for shit, right? That is number 1. The yellow plastic miter boxes you buy at hardware stores and, and box stores and stuff like that, they have your 90, they have your 45 in both angles, cut into a plastic mold where they're about 14 inches long. Well, picture that, 14 inches, to lay your board in. But there's nothing to secure the board with while it's being cut. It's up to you and this and that. And each time you run the saw through those little factory manufactured slots, let's face it, the saw blades don't have a memory. they're going to elongate that slot little by little by little. And the next thing you know, your 45s aren't like this anymore. They're about like that. Okay? So that's the plastic slots. The same thing, or the plastic miter boxes that they sell, for like, they're cheap. They're like $8-9 a piece. Rightfully so. You get what you pay for. Now, a lot of people decide to make their own wooden miter boxes. People that do this usually only use them for one job and then make a new one, because the same thing happens. The more often you use it, the more the teeth are going to elongate the slot for your miter, and your miters are not going to come out perfect. Okay? There is a manual miter saw out there that I happen to be a big fan of. They're not a sponsor of mine. I don't get any money from them. And I don't care if they like this or not. I really don't care. But it is a product that I will truthfully recommend to anyone for a manual miter saw apparatus. And especially when it comes to cutting the thin stuff like this. I'm not talking about, molding that's 3 inches wide, and I'm talking about stuff that's probably about 3/4 of an inch wide at most by about a ½ inch deep. The smaller stuff, right? And especially when it's scrolled like this is. Yes, I bought it pre-roped like this. And what I'm using this for is I'm building a Veterans Memorial flag display for a deceased Navy man. And I thought that on the front of the display case, right, that this would look really nice. I'll give you an example, okay? Now, you have to pardon the sawdust and stuff like that on this display case, but if this is the display case, and this gets placed on there, picture it across, the whole front, and it's a Navy guy, and Navy people are used to roping knots. I think it's going to look really, really swell, to use a term from the 50s. Okay, but anyway, I digress. Okay, I'm going to put you on the Soyuz for a second, and I'm going to introduce you to the Jorgensen. It's a Swedish company, or I don't know if it's Swedish, Denmark, whatever, a Scandinavian company, but I have a feeling they're Swedish, where it actually begins with a J, but the J's up there are pronounced as H's. So I believe it's pronounced Jorgensen. And I'm going to put you on the space station a second and show you why we want to use a manual, good manual, not that plastic yellow box bullshit, and not the wooden ones. And I hope I have this right, because I really can't see. Okay, this is the Jorgensen. Right? It's very easily adjustable from 45 degrees on each end to 90. It locks in. The locking system for the blade, I happen to like a lot. It's stabilized by 2 pillars that can go up and down and goes across. Now, when you use this, what I highly recommend is, like I do, is I spray silicone, not DW40, not 3-in-1 oil, but silicone on these upright spindles. I hope I have this right, because I can't see what I'm doing. On these here, and also across the top of the blade here, and the guide I'm not worried about, but here and here, where the plastic groups meet the metal. It has the attachment here to, attach a stop block on. It's very good. Like I said, it goes from very easily from 45 degrees and everything in between to 45 degrees, right? And because the blade of the saw itself is a fantastic blade, yeah, it's a big saw. I mean, as far as the saw itself goes, it's a little large. I hope I'm shooting this right because, like I said, I'm back on my HD camera instead of the cell phone, but I'm hand holding it and I'm shooting outside, and I hope the sunlight doesn't interfere too much. But anyway, okay, let's get back to the table. When it comes to cutting the thin stock like that, like the rope molding or anything that's a 1/4 inch or less, and you really want it accurate, use the hand miter saw. You can go ahead and buy those yellow boxes, but don't use them a lot. If you want stability forever on accurate miter cuts, the Jorgensen system, it costs a couple pennies more. I think I paid like $40 for it, whatever, something like that, which was, it didn't take the groceries off my table. But to have it, you have it. Okay? So that's my tip for right now. This is Marcel, the Wood Butcher, saying, protect your eyes, protect your lungs, protect your ears, and never, ever forget about these guys. So for right now, take care, have a great day, and Semper Fi. Bye.